And businessman Jimmy Wanjigi declared that they would spend the night at the JKI area to confirm if they're still there, because they had booked another flight for this morning, which is scheduled to leave to take off at about 7:20 p.m. That's in about half an hour or so from now. We're still trying to 7:20 a.m. Sorry, a.m. this morning. They're still hoping to join Raila Odinga in Zimbabwe ahead of the burial of Morgan Tsvangirai. Let's now take a look at the big one on the front page of the Standard. Raila steps seen as Miguna stars storming NASA. That's a big headline today. And having Raila and Miguna on the same headline is interesting, because for a while Raila Odinga has dominated the headlines, and it is always Raila Odinga this, Raila Odinga the other. A few weeks back, I think 2 weeks, during that deportation of Miguna dominated headlines for an entire week. It was just Miguna, and there's a day he had actually dominated the first 10 pages of both dailies. Now we're having both Raila and Miguna on the headline. Some people argue that this is an attempt to bring back Raila Odinga to the headlines. That's some people say, not me. But there's that accusation and that criticism of how NASA handles its business by Boniface Mwangi. And I just read out that tweet that the problem with NASA is that you handle your business publicly. All your disagreements, everything happens in the public. And that affects how things happen, Bonopio and I, because, and Boniface said in Jubilee, they do fight, yes, but you never see them fighting out in the public. Do you agree with that?
No, I can't agree with that. you know what Boniface needs to appreciate is the fact that NASA coalition is a big movement, people movement, whereas Jubilee is a personalized outfit, okay? Yeah, owned by a few individuals. So in NASA, where democracy actually flourishes, you would expect people to disagree once in a while. And those disagreements would obviously get to the public domain. Because again, I've heard you say that Raila is coming back to the headlines. You know, Raila is a newsmaker. Yeah, whether you like it or not, people will crave for him, and that's why he will continue to dominate the news. Okay, so this is a matter. It's basically a little storm in a teacup. Nobody shouldn't be blown out of proportion. The fact that people within NASA can disagree and eventually agree is the norm of democracy. Yes, and actually it's a demonstration of the fact that we uphold democratic ideals and tenets within the movement here.
Raila Odinga dismissing claims against Magaya and D, because now this, you're saying this is not fighting in public. If it is a small problem, something like this should be handled within the party. Nelson Havi, you're not in politics, but I know you are a politician, and you've been trying to run for office within the LSK. So you can comment on some politics here. Do you agree with Bonopio and I that NASA has to do this publicly, that they're different from Jubilee because Jubilee probably is personalized in its leadership?
Well, I entirely agree with Mheshimiwa here, because look, the best analogy I'll give you is the one that Raila always gives us, of this chap who was bathing by the riverside and his clothes were taken away. And then who is the madman? We saw the other day somebody lamenting that parliamentary group meetings are mandatory. Isn't that fighting in public? We saw the other day the issue of Qatar. I mean, they were divided right in the middle. But look, the problem is that you and Dimuli are the ones who are causing this thing. You always create NASA as an item of news every day. Yeah. I think you also need to concentrate on these chaps. For instance, like that Boniface Mwangi is a Jubilee sympathizer, and he always comes out as a civil rights activist. you need to call him out for the fraud he is.
But Miguna's presence, and I remember when he dominated headlines, the main discussion was that many people within NASA are not so comfortable with the kind of publicity that Miguna was receiving. That even people within NASA were not happy that for days we were just talking about Miguna. Yet before that, he was not really in the inner circle. He had just come rather...
No, in the bully, that's not correct. The point of the matter is this. Raila Odinga was in court twice to pursue the matter of Miguna. And you can even see the defense team of Miguna. We're all there. I'm there. Senator Orengo is there, Honorable Tienda Molo is there, Senator Mutula Kilonzo is there. But you see, as Mheshimiwa Opiwa said, this is a very democratic movement. It's a very open society where people are able to agree and disagree. You understand? Contrast that with the other utilitarian, authoritarian opponent that we have, where everything is just being forced upon them. You can see even my colleague here, he confuses himself for part of the executive because they are part and parcel of the same thing. They are the executive, they are the legislator, they are the judiciary. They want everything, you understand? There is no room for discussion. There is no room for contribution. So contrast a dictatorship to democracy.
Bwana Soy, of course, you've been commended by Bwana Kostani, you've been commended by Boniface Mwangi for how Jubilee handles its issues privately. But as Bwana Harvey here says, it is not by choice. That probably the way Jubilee handles its problems, or its issues rather, is a lack of democracy within the party, that probably when you attend your parliamentary group meetings, you don't say anything. Even fighting, you cannot dare question what the party leadership says, and that's what probably other people in NASA are enjoying.
You see, as Jubilee, we are one team. We believe we are one team. And when we have differences in Jubilee, it's difference of opinion on issues, not on small titles and who is closer to Raila and who is closer to Uhuru than the other. As Jubilee, we say that from the beginning, from the MCAs to the Member of Parliament, Senator, Women Rep, Governor, we all campaigned as a team, and the executive. So we are one and parcel. We cannot be one team when we are campaigning and then become another team when now that we've been sworn in and everybody has occupied their various positions. So we are one team. We have our differences, but we handle them at the PG. But at the end of the day, the party position is what supersedes.
There are those who argue that anyone who dares speak against the party leadership will suffer the consequences, like what we can see your colleague Alfred Keter suffering. That yes, you dare do that.
What does Alfred Keter issue got to do with the party leadership?
He claims it's being
He claims, yes, he claims. But where you give me the evidence, give me a track of where Jubilee is involved in Alfred Keter's issue. Alfred Keter was busy doing whatever he was doing.
So it's purely coincidental that he...
It is purely coincidental that it is Alfred Keter. Tomorrow it could be me. If I am arrested tomorrow, I will not go and claim it's executive. It's my own issues. What somebody does just because I occupy a certain position and I go and have I go and fight with somebody in a bar or something, then I cannot come and blame the government. Okay. So I think the biggest issue with NASA is, as the Deputy President has said, they were clueless, they are rudderless, they are almost even leaderless, because everybody, there's a lot of fighting. Kalonzo here has his issues, and I think we need to tell NASA, let them sort out their issues, leave us Jubilee. We have a mechanism as a party to sort out our issues, and you will not see us fighting in public. Okay. You will not see us fighting.
Away from Jubilee, let's come back to this issue of Miguna. We were just discussing the fact that he could come back to Kenya. I also alluded to the fact that not many people within NASA are comfortable with the kind of publicity Miguna is receiving. Do you think NASA, now this disagreement, him already starting to accuse some people within NASA of being Jubilee moles, do you think NASA is excited at the prospect of having Miguna return to Kenya? Probably it's even convenient for them that he was actually taken elsewhere.
Being a policy expert, at times, when I look at this discussion, it's more in the realm of politics, and politics is about domination, politics is about prominence. And I would tell you that I would not be surprised that the kind of profile and the kind of attention Miguna was receiving was making people uncomfortable. That because it's about whose word goes out there. And I think if you look at the entire ceremony that took place on the 30th, the person who came out and gotten a lot of credit from that process, more prominence went to Miguna. So politically, that can be unsettling, and I would understand the kind of repositioning. Allow me just to comment on something, Indumuli. Political parties exist so that they can get power. That is the primary business of politics. So you remember that we went to an election, you have a government that has been elected, it's been sworn in legally and constitutionally. So you would expect the same interests will continue. And since NASA was a formation of more than 3 political parties, what happens? The competition will continue. So looking at it from that dimension, you should also see, since they're in competition with Jubilee, that some of the tribulations that NASA would be enjoying, you can see, I think we saw the majority leader commenting on it. as in, that is politics. It is the art of the possible.
So some of the problems bedeviling NASA are instigated.
As in, it's a question of advancing your interests.
Okay.
And I would not be surprised.
Just before the break, to Bona Pio and I, yes.
Fred.
It is, and I put it to you, that probably you and your colleagues within NASA are not so comfortable with the prospect of Miguna returning to the country, with the kind of problems he's already causing within the coalition. For Raila Odinga to even respond to a claim by Miguna, it means this is a problem that could actually cause cracks within NASA.
Not really. This is another narrative that the media are creating.
You've really been hitting on the media.
I think for their own reasons. Because really, who on earth would be against Miguna return to the country? Who in NASA would actually?
Are you comfortable with the kind of publicity he's receiving?
Very much. Why not? Because Miguna is part of us, and in this movement, different people play different roles at different times. Really. The kind of publicity he is perhaps enjoying now is something that others have enjoyed before him, yes, and others will enjoy in future. So it's not a question of competition.
So what would you say to the kind of claim, what he said, the kind of accusations against David Ndii and Norman Magaya?
The party leader, President Raila Odinga, has already spoken on that matter, that it was unfortunate, the remarks that were attributed to Miguna with regard to Mr. Ndii and Mr. Magaya. So we'll better leave it at that. But the most important thing again is that NASA is not short of stars, if I may call them so. People who would occupy the imagination of Kenyans at every time. And therefore we will expect to see more and more of Migunas, and more of Magayas, more and more of these emerging in NASA and going forward.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, the fact remains that if it's not Raila Odinga from NASA on the headlines, or either of the principals, Miguna has been dominating headlines from that end of the political divide.
Of late, which is very positive for him and for all of us.
Okay, let's take a break. When we come back, we discuss what's happening in Parliament today. That list of nominees to the Public Service, Parliamentary Service Commission, rather, from NASA, causing a lot of problems within the coalition. We'll be looking at that and a lot more headlines in a short while.